It's Monday, May 4th, 2026, and today's episode is brought to you by the thrilling sound of an AI confidently saying, "I made you a prototype," and then handing you a beautifully formatted lie. I'm Hunter.
And I'm Riley. Also, yes, this whole episode is fully AI made. Like, robots made the robots talk about robots. If we glitch, no, we didn't.
Yeah, exactly. If the audio randomly sounds like I'm underwater, that's not a bug, that's generative ambience.
It's Celebrate Magic, Hunter.
All right, main story. Google's Gemini Canvas, and this is the clearest signal from Google yet that chat is not the final form. Canvas is basically Gemini saying, "Stop copy-pasting my good ideas into a doc like a caveman, let's make the doc in here."
It's artifact first, which is fancy talk for the output isn't a blob in a chat bubble. It's an actual thing you can hand to someone, like a draft, a prototype, a mini web app, some code you can edit in place.
Yeah, Canvas turns prompts into shareable prototypes and drafts that actually survive contact with Slack. Because right now, you know the vibe. Someone makes a brilliant AI draft, drops it into a thread, and it instantly dies. It's like releasing a goldfish into the ocean.
Or worse, it gets mangled. Someone copies it into a doc, half the formatting evaporates, then a stakeholder comments, "Can you make it pop?" And you're like, "Cool, what does pop mean, Brad?"
So here's the big question. Is Gemini Canvas actually a workflow product, or is it just chat wearing a Google Doc costume?
Ooh, hold up, I'm gonna be annoying. I think it's both. Because the vibe is still, you're talking to an assistant, but the behavior change is real. The output is meant to be worked on, not just admired and abandoned.
That's the key. The surface matters. Canvas is more like a workspace panel where you can generate and then revise without reprompting from scratch every time. That sounds small, but for creators, it's huge.
Especially for teams. Like, solo creators have been duct taping this with Notion docs and Google Docs, and here's the prompt thread. But teams need handoffs. Canvas is basically Google trying to reduce the handoff tax.
And it's not landing alone. This stacks with what we talked about on the blog yesterday, Gemini Notebooks, persistent workspaces. So Notebooks is like, your project has a memory, and Canvas is like, your output has a body.
Wait, that's kind of poetic.
I'm a designer, I can't help it. But yeah, Notebooks plus Canvas is Google trying to be the tab you never close.
Okay, but let me challenge you. We already have artifact surfaces elsewhere. Like, ChatGPT has canvases and projects, Claude has artifacts in its own way, Notion AI exists. Even Figma is getting AI layers everywhere. Is Google late, or are they just Googling?
They're late in concept, early in distribution, because Canvas showing up in Search AI mode for US users is the sneaky power move. If it's where people already are, it wins by gravity.
True. Tools don't win because they're best. They win because they're already open in the browser when you're stressed.
Let's talk what creators actually do with Canvas. The blog post frames it like living doc drafts, code-forward prototypes, and interactive concepts people can open and remix.
And the internet is already doing the most with it. People on X are sharing these made-a-game in 5 minutes canvases, like Flappy Bird clones, dashboards, little interactive widgets. It's giving I can't code but I can vibe.
Which is fun, but I want to bring it back to marketing reality. The killer use case isn't "look, I made chess." It's "look, I made a campaign brief that doesn't collapse when someone else touches it."
Or I made a script draft that the editor can actually revise without hunting through chat history like an archaeologist.
Now, practical limits. Sharing is the headline, but it's not universal. Google's docs basically say if you're on a work or school account, link sharing might be restricted.
Which is such a classic enterprise moment, like collaboration feature, and then IT is like, no.
Also, shared Canvas links open in the web version, not inside Gemini Mobile. So if you're a creator who lives on your phone, that's annoying.
That's not just annoying, that's, I guess I'm not collaborating until I'm back at my desk. Which is very not TikTok-brained.
And export is still a friction point. You can export docs to Google Docs, some code flows export to Colab, but it's not like one-click production deploy.
Thank God, honestly. If we had one-click deploy from hallucination to production, society would end by lunch.
Speaking of hallucinations, if work lives in Canvas, where does truth live? Like, what's the playbook for preventing confident nonsense from becoming a shared internal artifact?
This is the real problem, because once it's a linkable object, people trust it more. It looks official, it's got structure, it's in a workspace, so your team's gonna treat it like it's real.
Totally. So my creator-safe playbook is, Canvas is where drafts live. Truth lives in sources, meaning every canvas that matters needs a little receipt zone, links, references, notes on what was assumed.
Yes, like a "don't sue us" footer.
Exactly. And for marketing teams, you need a clear owner. Not everyone can remix forever. Someone is accountable for the final.
Which leads to the chaos question. Canvas makes drafts remixable. How do you stop copy, fork, continue from turning into 1,000 Franken-docs?
You don't stop it, you manage it. You set up a convention, one master canvas, forks for experiments, and a rule that only the master gets shipped.
And you name them like a sane person, not final file, use this one actually.
Please. My soul can't take it.
All right, zooming out for a sec. In the past week, the whole ecosystem is screaming workflow, not wow. Like Adobe's connector that lets Claude run Creative Cloud workflows? That was a big one. It's not a new model, it's automation between approval and delivery.
Yep, Claude becomes the coordinator, Adobe stays the engine room. That's the same trend. Stop treating AI like a toy, treat it like a production layer.
And on the other end, we had Mirage AI releasing Alice Open Weights video. That's a totally different vibe, but same direction, control and repeatability for real pipelines.
Exactly. Whether it's open video you self-host or Google building remixable work surfaces, the conversation is shifting from can it generate to can we operationalize it?
Okay, spiciest take time. Will artifact surfaces like Canvas reduce meetings or just generate more meeting-shaped documents faster?
I think it reduces the worst meetings, though we don't have anything to react to yet meeting, because now you can drop an artifact early and people can actually point at it.
Counterpoint. It might create more meetings because now everyone has an opinion on a draft that exists sooner.
Fair, but that's not a Canvas problem, that's a people love feedback problem.
Creators hearing that like, oh cool, more notes, love that for me.
One more fun angle, audio overview. Google's been bundling this podcast summary thing alongside Canvas, and I've heard some hilarious fails where the audio host sounds like a TED speaker explaining something that is absolutely wrong.
I've seen one where it confidently summarized a doc that still had placeholder text, like hi name, made it into the spoken audio. That's when you realize the model isn't lazy, we are.
We're shipping vibes.
We're shipping vibes at scale.
So creator translation on Canvas, it's not a better chatbot. It's Google making Gemini feel like a place where work actually lives. For solo creators, it's a cleaner draft loop. For teams, it's a handoff reducer.
And the warning label is, don't confuse shareable with true. And don't confuse prototype with production. Canvas gets you to clickable-ish faster. You still need a human brain and, ideally, an adult in the room.
All right, that's the lightning. Thanks for hanging with us on Blue Lightning Daily.
Go check out bluelightningtv.com for AI news and updates, and subscribe so you don't miss when our AI voices accidentally start a union.
If we leave a high name in the outro next time, just pretend it's interactive. Catch you later.